everybody, this is Caitlin here, and welcome back to Card Game Wednesday, the day of the week where we discuss all things card game related. And today we have some of the product information that has been provided by Force of Will in regards to Winds of the Ominous Moon, in regards to things like the Buy a Box promo, the playmat, the booster packaging, and everything like that that's come out of it. But because of this, there's been an added little bit of information that has kind of upset quite a few people, and I think rightly so. But before I address the elephant in the room in regards to this matter, I'm going to quickly go over some of the things that we've been provided by the company in terms of this product information, like I normally do when things are advertised, and I try to discuss what this could mean at anything. But basically, going off it, most of the same artwork is used for the majority of this promo material, so there's really not much I can dive into in terms of different things to discuss, mainly because it's the same images used repeatedly, so there's not really much I can really kind of distinguish or rather discuss about it, because there's not much like differentiation between the images and all the material provided. So I'll do my best here to like discuss what I think is going on and majority of things like that. Sorry, this seems like a little bit like I'm repeating myself here. It's just because it's like the same information on most of the images, and I'm trying to like kind of maybe build up a little bit to the real pressing issue at hand, because I'm pretty sure all of you are actually thinking exactly what I'm thinking, but I'm going to get to that at the end of the video. So starting off here, we have the buy a box, or rather I believe it's buy 6 boxes now, still for the playmat, which features, which I'm assuming going to be the 3 rulers for the set, because it wasn't confirmed. I'm pretty sure it was only going to be 3 rulers for the set. So obviously we've got Rhea, who presumably is going to be totally unsealed eventually. We have the time-spinning witch herself, Kaguya, and on the right-hand side it seems to be that this is maybe feasting, although some people were arguing that it's perhaps feasting, either young feasting or like return feasting, or perhaps something related to Ciel, because Ciel's familiar Mike is also featured in the artwork, as well as Tama. So some were maybe predicting that Ciel had some kind of affiliation with feasting, whether it was like feasting in like this timeline, whether it was like a relative of feasting or something like that, or like an ancestor. We weren't too sure, but this seems to strongly indicate that feasting or slash Ciel, depending on who this is actually going to be, was going to be the final ruler or whatever. I wasn't expecting it, honestly. I wasn't expecting feasting to make a comeback or whatever in this cluster, certainly, but it seems to be that's the direction they're heading in. So I was wrong about potentially Ragnarok being a ruler, which is a little bit interesting here. It seems that some people actually found out that Ragnarok is going to be a resonator as opposed to a ruler, but I find that really interesting here. The playmat actually looks really nice. It doesn't seem as messy as previous ruler mats have been. I think that's because like previously we've had 5 rulers, including like new versions of the starter deck rulers, but this one only features 3, and I feel like it's a lot more cleaner for that. Some of the kind of like merging at some points does seem a little bit not too clean. I think mainly because it's like Kaguya's trying to take precedence in the middle, and as such the kind of like not the blurring, but you know what I mean, at the sides for both feasting and Rhea seems a little bit off. Also, I'm not too sure what's going on with Rhea's side boob here. You can see like a little bit of her ribs against her skin, which is a little bit weird, but I'm not too sure about that. But it seems to be pretty decent artwork, just like displaying the different rulers that we're going to get in the set. Moving on, we also have what the box looks like. Again, it is the older style of booster box, so it seems like we're not going to be returning to the very nice newer version of the booster boxes. It seems like, I guess they've decided to go back to the older model, which I am disappointed about, because I enjoyed the design of the new boxes, and I'm kind of sad that they've gone back to the old ones. I was kind of hoping for a bit of consistency for the whole of Rhea cluster, so even if they were going to revert to the old style of boxes, I was kind of hoping that they would keep the new style for the rest of the cluster and then go back to it. It just feels like a little bit wrong, where you've got like one half of the set in one style of box, and then the other part of the set in a different style of box, which is a little bit weird. So again, we don't really have much here. We've got the same artwork used from the mat for the booster packs, and then we've got the same image of Rhea again for the little box topper and everything. So we don't really get too much here, other than knowing that, yes, we're back to the old design of the boxes, and we don't really have any new information from this here. We have the promo, which is going to be the buy a box promo, which is actually Berry Ball, which is a really nice card, actually, and I really like the artwork that they used for this. Obviously, it's a quick cast 1 cost water chant. You rest target resonator, and if the weather is thunderstorm, this card deals that much damage to a resonator equal to its attack, which is pretty nice. And then finally we get like a kind of closer up version of the booster pack, and what it looks like here is again very interesting. The composition that they've used for the 3 rulers and everything, it does like blend together quite nicely, a little bit better than what it did on the ruler mat or anything like that. But I find it really interesting that the consistency of the images doesn't give too much away other than the fact that feasting seems to be here. Whether or not it's the real feasting or some kind of time magic thing, I am not too sure. But we'll probably maybe get a little bit more information about that when more spoilers come along. I'm assuming both rulers will obviously be spoiled at some point, so we'll get a little bit more information about that. But now, it's time to address the elephant in the room. The thing that is obviously sparked a lot of debate and discussion in the Force World community after the information dropped basically on Monday here. So, as you all know, Kaguya got revealed as one of the rulers that was going to be featured. She is actually the time-spinning witch, so I was right about my prediction that she herself would be the time-spinning witch. The problem arises as to the fact that Kaguya, the ruler here, time-spinning witch, is not included in the booster box set. Rather, she is still included as part of the Winds of the Omnis Moon set, but she's not pullable in the boxes. What she is, however, is she is a buy 3 box exclusive, which essentially, if you just boil it down to it, means that she is locked behind a paywall, which greatly upset a lot of people. It greatly upset me. I spoke to a lot of people about this and everything like that, and I was like, discussing that I am pretty annoyed and I'm pretty upset with the decision to do this. I can understand making the playmat a buy a box exclusive, like it used to be buy 3 boxes and then they upped to 6, which was a little bit ridiculous, I feel, considering that some of the playmats maybe weren't the best quality in terms of the artwork that they used or the composition that they used. I can understand it maybe being like a buy 1 box thing. That's why we have the buy a box pro or anything like that. But then you get into the fact that this set is including support for Kaguya, who you cannot obtain yourself unless you buy 3 boxes. Now, obviously, with Raya Cluster putting up the number of cards in a set, the price for boxes rose. However, they went ahead and said that this part of Raya Cluster has less cards than the rest of the cluster sets themselves. I'm not too sure on the exact number, but I believe it is significantly less cards than the other sets. Now, they haven't mentioned whether or not this will be affecting the price of the boxes either. My assumption would be that obviously if there's less cards in the set, you can't charge the same price. But there's been no confirmation as to whether or not this will affect the price at LGS's or what the recommended selling price will be for game stores. I would assume that they would have to lower the price if they are going to do this for lowering the amount of cards and then locking a ruler behind a paywall. That's the thing that really annoys me the most is that Force of Will at first always advertised itself as a cheaper game, that you could get cards very easily, that it was kind of like a cheaper game to say Magic or whatever, where there is definitely at some point a price barrier to some people. This game was meant to be playable by people who maybe didn't have a lot of money and people who had a bit of expendable income. They could maybe buy more boosters if they wanted to, buy more booster boxes, buy even cases if they wanted to. But to put a ruler, and we don't even know how good she's going to be in the meta, because we have no clue yet as to how good she is overall or how her deck is going to work out. It is a bit of a scummy move to put her behind a paywall. Now, I am pretty annoyed about this, and I do struggle to see the positive side of this. Some people are arguing that this means that she's going to be more viable in the secondary market. Well, she's not going to reach the secondary market if nobody's going to buy 3 booster boxes to get a hold of her in the first place, especially if they're not going to lower the price of the booster boxes themselves. Other than that, the one thing that kind of annoys me as well is even more information about this. They seem to make it let slip that you are not even guaranteed a ruler inside your box anymore. They commented on saying that there's going to be greater randomization on rulers now, which seems to indicate that they're now saying, hey, you're not guaranteed a ruler in your box, which I think is, again, another terrible move. It's how can we play any of the new cards in the set if we don't have any of the rulers? I feel okay, they messed up a lot with the printing error that happened in Time Spinning Witch, and they tried to rectify that, but it seems like they've not learned their lesson at all in regards to rulers themselves. It's why would we bother buying this set if it's got a load of support for rulers that we cannot pull within a box? Your chances of pulling these rulers are even smaller than they were before, and even then, our chances of pulling an Ayu or a Welser were greatly reduced because of the reprinted starter deck rulers. I feel there's been a lot of problems with Raya Cluster, and I feel the company themselves maybe haven't cottoned on as to what the problems are, although I think they have seen the outcry that has happened from, one, the Kaguya problem here with putting her behind a paywall, and the problem here with making it harder to pull a ruler. This is a little bit ridiculous at this point, and I'm really upset about this, really, because obviously it's so hard to pull the one ruler you want, especially when there's only 3 of them, technically only 2 of them being pullable, and even then they are not guaranteed within your box. It's like, what is the incentive to buy a box then if one of the rulers is not even pullable, and two, you're not even guaranteed a ruler in your box? Like, you're guaranteed what, a secret rare, and that's about it. Some were saying that the ratios for rares and SRs are going to be the same, but again, how do we know that's even true if the number of cards in the set has been reduced? It's just, I find it really baffling that they think that this was a good idea, or even that they went ahead with this idea. I don't know if there's any way that they could reverse it now. It seems to be like everything is in production now. Maybe by the sounds of it, things are already packaged and ready to be sent out, but I pray that something can be done before this just gets even worse, because I think it's a terrible idea to make it even harder to get rulers for the set, which is printing support for these rulers, which you may never pull because, hey, your chances of getting them are like slim to none, and I find it really, really ridiculous. I struggle to find any of the positive here. I don't want to rip on Force of Will. I love this card game and I love playing it. I love talking about it, and I love talking about it with my friends and explaining it to new people and everything like that. But how can I defend this card game when it's pulling moves like this? Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. Like, we have now had to wait to the end of the cluster to get a fully unsealed Rhea, and even then, she's going to be harder to pull. We don't even know what she does yet, and it seems like if we want to have a fully unsealed Rhea that will be legal for tournaments and everything like that, we need to somehow pray for a miracle that we somehow pull her, since she's not guaranteed in a box now. And even then, if we wanted to play Kaguya, if some people were fans of Kaguya and they wanted to play her, you better hope they've got a lot of money, because they're not seeing her unless they buy 3 boxes. Now, I believe Jeff came forward and he also stated that he had no idea the company were going to do this. He commented, I believe, on the US Force of Will page. He had no idea the company were going to do this, and he also disagrees with this method of obtaining Kaguya. I don't know if he mentioned about whether he had any disagreements about the ruler ratio and the fact that they are no longer guaranteed in a box now. I'll need to double check that at some point, but I can't remember whether or not he commented on that. He did do an impromptu Q&A. I believe he's still on holiday, or he was on holiday at the time that this all information dropped, and he did a quick Q&A to try and help calm people down, which is really good of him, which he didn't really need to do that. He had to obviously take time out of his holiday time, and it was good of him to do that for people who had obviously pressing concerns. But at the same time, I'm just I'm so flabbergasted that the company have made the decision, and I hope there is some way to reverse this before things get out of hand. But at the time of recording, nothing has really been said about any way of rectifying this, and this worries me greatly. I mean, I don't really feel like I have an incentive to buy a box. Normally, I would buy at least one box and do a box opening on my channel, but at this point in time, unless they lower the price or fix it in some way, I don't know if I'm going to be doing a box opening of this set, guys. I really want to, but at the same time, it's if it's going to be the same price, if I'm not guaranteed a ruler, if there's no way for me to get Kaguya unless I buy 3 boxes, I feel what's the point? Why would I even buy a box? I mean, I would think I would still do the pre-release, but I don't know if I would even go ahead and buy a box. Maybe I would buy a couple of packs on release day and record me opening them, but I don't feel inclined to open a full box if I'm not guaranteed some of the major cards that I need in order to play from this set. That's just the feeling that I'm getting from it, and I don't want to sound like I'm on such a downer about it, but this information just really, really upsets me in regards to this game that I love so much, that I've dedicated so much time to, and it just feels a little bit like a punch in the gut, instead of the company appreciating it as, trying to make up for the misprint fiasco and everything like that. This just feels like another punch in the gut. It's really disappointing, but I want to hear your guys' opinion on this. Literally, I want to know how you guys feel about it. What do you think about it? Do you think it's a positive? Do you think it's a negative? What's your own thoughts and feelings? Because I feel I don't want to feel like I'm the only one who feels upset about this. And I know, a lot of people are saying, don't be negative, when you're critiquing the company and everything like that, but I feel if you don't voice your grievances, then things are never going to change. They need to know and understand that this isn't okay. When you're trying to advertise this card game as accessible to people with low budgets as well, you can't put rulers behind paywalls. You can't make them this impossible to pull, and you can't be lowering the number of cards in your set, but then not saying anything about lowering the price of the set itself. It seems this is always a problem with the Force set of any cluster, is that we build up so much hype, and some way or another we do get let down. Like, I believe in obviously we had Millennia of Ages, which pretty much nearly killed the game. You had Battle for Ataratica, which again didn't really have any amazing cards in it. Even the rulers were very meh. Echoes of the World was a little bit better. Again, the rulers maybe weren't like meta stable. Obviously, Yggdrasil, Dark Yggdrasil was like a little bit of meta play. But we got some decent cards in it. Obviously, we got Severing Winds, which people argue about. But then it looks like this fourth set for Alice Cluster is looking to be, again, a bomb and basically going to tank this entire cluster and ruin it, essentially, because of this outcome that is happening with these rulers. But let me know in the comments down below, guys, what you think about this information that has came out. Do you have any differing opinions to me? I would love to hear them. And again, guys, just let me know if you are on board with this or not. If you do not agree with this, obviously try and voice your opinions in a constructive manner. I've tried to be as like kind as I can, but literally at the same time, it's just I'm so disappointed. I'm struggling to find any positives in this information here. But I hope you enjoyed this video, guys, and I hope to see you all next time. This video was made possible thanks to patrons such as Houston Moore, Alucard, and Craig McCutcheon.